February 26th. Real life begins with reverence. Let knowledge grow from more to more, but more of reverence in us dwell, that mind and soul according well may make one music as before. When my daughter was 4 years old, I asked my husband if he minded if I went away for a weekend by myself. He didn't. It was the first time since Katie's birth that she and I would be apart, and I felt I needed to have some centering time to myself, something I seemed unable to do at home. At that time, I didn't realize that solitude had to be woven into the fabric of my daily life. While fantasies of sleeping uninterrupted for 24 hours and ordering from room service at the local hotel tempted me briefly, I finally decided to spend a retreat weekend for women at a contemplative convent of Episcopal nuns. I realized what I really wanted to do was to hear the exquisite sounds of silence. There were many wonderful moments about the special weekend that I treasure, but the one thing that has stayed with me in this hush of reverence that enveloped life within the beautiful stone convent walls. Reverence is that altered state of consciousness when you feel awe and wonder because you know you are in the presence of spirit. Reverence enwraps you in perfect peace because there is no past or future, only present moment, and you are one with heaven and earth. There is no distinction between body and soul. Meditation can sometimes spiritually induce this special moment of wholeness, as does creating something beautiful, whether it's a meal, a painting, or a flower bed. Concentrating on one task at a time with care and attentiveness can invoke reverence as well. Unfortunately, most of us do not live behind cloistered walls where reverence resides. But I have learned on the Simple Abundance path that gratitude is the gateway to experiencing more reverence in our daily lives. The 13th century German philosopher Meister Eckhart, whose teachings so influenced the Quaker movement, believed that if the only prayer you say in your life is thank you, that would be enough. Real life, the real life of joy we are meant to be living, begins when we restore a sense of reverence to our daily affairs. Today, search for the sacred in the ordinary with gratitude in your heart, and you will surely find it. February 27th, committing to your spiritual awakening. I don't believe I know. By this time, it's no secret that the Simple Abundance path is spiritual as well as creative and practical. But Simple Abundance will work for you even if you're ambivalent about whether God exists, even if you consciously work to bring more gratitude, simplicity, order, harmony, beauty, and joy into your daily life. Your world will be transformed whether you believe a higher power is guiding you or not. But if you commit to your spiritual awakening as the most important part of the process, something marvelous will happen. Life will not feel as fraught, as frazzled, or as fragmented as before because you'll realize that the spiritual, the creative, and the practical can't be separated. They each count. They each mean something. They're all connected. You think you're only making a meatloaf when really you're ministering to hungry bodies and weary souls in need of love and nourishment. A friend is hurting, so you spend a lunch hour searching for the perfect card to send her. Months later, she tells you how much comfort you conveyed across the miles. A woman calls your small and struggling mail order business looking for a certain item that you are out of temporarily. She can't wait for you to reorder because she needs it for her daughter's birthday party. Instead of sending her away disappointed, you give her the name and the telephone number of a competitor who also carries that item. You set in motion a cycle of good that blesses all concerned. A year ago, you might not have done this, but now you know that there is no competition in the spiritual realm. A year ago, you were not aware that every choice you make every day is part of a sacred whole. But as Christina Baldwin writes in her inspiring book, Life's Companion, Journal Writing is a Spiritual Quest, if we ready ourselves with spiritual openness, eventually we will come to the awareness that spirituality is the sacred center of which all life comes, including Mondays and Tuesdays and rainy Saturday afternoons and all their mundane and glorious details. A year ago, you might not have believed this could be true, but with each day of the journey, you have become more open to the mystery, the magic, and the majesty of the master plan because you are committed to your spiritual awakening. You don't have to just believe anymore because you know. February 28th, creating a sacred space. You must have a room or a certain hour of the day or so where you do not know what was in the morning paper, a place where you can simply experience and bring forth what you are and what you might be. At first, you may find nothing's happening, but if you have a sacred place and use it, take advantage of it. Something will happen. I resisted creating a sacred space for myself for a very long time. The excuses were 1, I am not a nun and altars belong only in churches or convents. 2, I live in a very small house and I don't really have any space to set aside. And 3, I didn't want my husband, who respects and honors my spiritual quest but doesn't share it, or my daughter, to think I was extremely weird. But I kept discovering other women writers who I admire, and whom I don't think are weird at all, that they've created sacred spaces for themselves, and the concept intrigued me. Then one day in meditation, my authentic self suggested that I become open to the idea of creating a sacred space to celebrate, concentrate, and consecrate my inner work. Okay, I said, I'll be open to it, but I don't know where I'll put it. The very next morning, I was propped up in bed writing my daily dialogue pages. When I looked up, I saw, with my inner vision, a small blue bench up against my bedroom wall surrounded by white light. Flash! It was exactly like the one discarded on our porch. I leaped out of the bed in a burst of excited enthusiasm and started gathering meaningful objects that evoked love and gratitude to me from various scattered places around the house. A half hour later, I had created a sacred space that delighted me. Let me tell you about my meditation table. As it is now called by the family, and if anyone thinks it strange, they have kept this opinion to themselves, the dark blue enamel bench is only 18 inches long and 8 inches deep and is against my blue bedroom wall. A small white linen and crocheted lace tablecloth covers it. On the table, I have a large golden pillar candle sitting in the center, a beautiful Victorian lithograph of an angel representing the guidance of my guardian angel, a print of the Madonna and child in an oval gold frame representing the male and the female natures of divinity, a small gold-framed mirror for my authentic self-meditation, pictures of my family and pets, a small blue and white china vase, a wedding present for fresh flowers, rose quartz crystals representing the natural world, a rose-patterned incense holder, and a small bowl of rose and jasmine potpourri. Hanging above the table at my eye level, whenever I kneel or sit, is a beautiful print in a gold frame by the artist Michael Podesta that represents the essence of simple abundance. The table is only about 2 feet away from the foot of my bed, so that the bed supports my back comfortably when I sit and meditate. This encourages me to meditate more often. After I had pulled everything together, I consecrated the table with a small ritual of blessing. Afterwards, I was surprised by the powerful sense of positive energy that seemed to surround the table. Of course, now I know that this energy is love. Love created this space, and for me, once I became open to allowing it into my life, the objects displayed on the table represent all that I love and for which I am so grateful. You might also like to create a sacred spot to celebrate, concentrate, and consecrate your inner work. You don't have to have a lot of room. Joan Borsenko now has a house large enough for a small meditation room, but she has used in the past the top of a bureau, a corner of a kitchen, a nook in the hall. Julia Cameron encourages the seeker in us to create a small personal place for inner work, even if it's just a window ledge. She tells us in order to stay easily and happily creative, we need to stay spiritually centered. This is easier to do if we allow ourselves centering rituals. It is important that we devise these ourselves from the elements that feel holy and happy to us. Don't think it will work for other women, but not for you. Today, all I ask is that you be open to allowing a creative, sacred space to come into your world. If you are, Spirit will do the rest. Go with the flow.